ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते यौपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम्। Now we go to the Sutra 21 and 22, 21, 21 and 22 on the page 393. Introducing the Sutra, Ratnaprabha says, Jiva Bhinnam Brahma Jagat Karanam. We saw this in the earlier Sutra, Tad Ananyatvam Arambhana Shabdadibhyah, said that the Jiva and Jagat are not separate from Brahma. In Janmad Yasyatah Janmasthiti Bhangaha, that the creation, sustenance, dissolution of the entire universe is from Brahman, that Brahma is Jagat Karanam. So that Sutra said Brahma is Jagat Karanam, creator, sustainer, dissolver. And Tat Ananyatvam said that Jiva is not apart from Brahman. In fact, identity of Jiva and Brahma was stated in that sutra. So two things are stated. Jiva Bhinnam Brahma Jagat Karanam. That Brahman, which is the very self of the Jiva, is Jagat Karanam, is the cause of the creation. Both the material as well as efficient cause of the creation. So this is the purport of Vedanta. Iti vadan. This is what the Siddhanti says. Iti vadan. Vedanta Samanvayo Vishaya. That Vedanta has one purport. Vedanta has its import in this one thing. That is Jiva Brahma Aikyam. The identity of Jiva and Brahma. What is Brahma? Jagat Karanam. So Brahman, that is Jagat Karanam. The cause of the creation is the very self of what is thought to be Jiva or Jivatma. That is what was established in the first chapter, called Samanvaya Adhyaya. The first chapter said, what is the very subject matter of Vedanta? What is the import of Vedanta? What is the purport of Vedanta? What are the Vedantas trying to teach us? So as said earlier, this second chapter is called the Avirodha Adhyaya, that there is no Virodha. No other pramana contradicts this reality which is revealed by the Upanishads. Namely, Brahma is the cause of creation and Jiva is none other than Brahma. Brahma is the self of Jiva. So what is Brahma? Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. What is Brahma? Ekameva Dvitiyam, one without a second. That's a reality. This is the purport of the Vedantas, and that was what is established in the first chapter. That Samanvaya becomes is questioned everywhere, in every adhikaranam. Every adhikaranam questions that Samanvaya. So, Samanvayo Vishayaha, that Jiva Brahma Aikyam, the identity of Jiva and Brahma, which was established in the first chapter, becomes a very topic under discussion. So, yadi Tadruk Brahma Jagat Janayet Tari Swa Anishtam Narkadikam Najanayet Swatantra Chetanatvat Iti Nyayena Virudhyate. Ye Tadruk Brahma, a Brahman of that nature, meaning Brahma that is Jagat Karanam and identical to Jiva. Jagat Janayet. So you say that Brahman is the creator, sustainer, dissolver of the universe. Okay. Which Brahma? Brahman that is identical to Jiva, not any other Brahma. Tadruk Brahma. So Brahman that is established to be one with Jiva, the self of Jiva, not different from Jiva in reality. That Brahma, Jagat Janayet, creates the Jagat of the universe. Tarhi, then what kind of Jagat that Brahman has created for himself, for itself? Swa Anishtam Narakadikam Najanayet. But Brahman is Jivatma also. So, for Jiva also is Brahman. Then the creator would not create undesirable things for oneself. You can't create a house or for yourself and have a big pit in between, so that you can fall down. Nobody will do that. Nobody will deliberately create something that causes you pain or difficulty. You cannot spread thorns on your own path before walking. You won't do that. Nobody will do that. Similarly, we find that there is this Naraka or hell is an example, which is a place of great suffering. Now, who has created the hell? Brahman, because hell also, Naraka also is part of the Brahmanda, part of the whole universe, cosmos. The whole cosmos is created by Brahman, and Naraka or hell is also a part of that. Meaning Brahman has created hell for itself, Narkadikam Najanayet. Nobody will do that. So Brahman. So the question is Brahman really Jagat Karanam? That is the point. The Purva Paksha has in mind that you say that Brahman is Jagat Karanam, we question that. if Brahman, which is identical to Jiva, Brahman was separate and Jiva was separate, then Brahman can create Naraka for Jiva. Brahman can create heaven and hell and everything for Jiva because Brahman doesn't have to suffer. So, the parliament can bring out all kinds of, or the government can bring all kinds of ordinances they can bring, but they don't have to worry about it. The people who are subject to the ordinances have to put up with that. And so, if Brahman was separate from Jiva, then it's fine. Then it can create the Jagat or the universe or cosmos with all pleasure and pain for Jiva. But if Jiva also is himself, that means that Brahman has created for itself hell. No, that cannot be. Swatantra chetanatvat. You may create hell for yourself if you are not swatantra, if you are not independent. It is possible that the prisoners are made to do the labor work to create more cells for themselves. It's possible, The prisoners who do not have the freedom are sometimes punished with rigorous labor. And so they may have to do a lot of labor work and create more cells in the prison itself. It is possible that they are creating hell for themselves because they are not independent. But if these fellows were independent, they would never do that. Nobody would create that kind of a hell for oneself, that kind of a cell for oneself. When you make a home for yourself, you make a comfortable place, not deliberately uncomfortable. Swatantra chetanatvat, Chetana or a conscious being is an intelligent being. If something achetan like earthquake, tsunami, they are all achetana. So they can perhaps create something which is undesirable. But deliberately, Chetanam, Brahman is Chetanam, that would not Swatantram, independent. An independent conscious being is not expected to create something painful or undesirable for deliberately create undesirable thing for its own self. You may wind up doing it. Even though you wanted to create something comfortable, it may turn out to be uncomfortable is a different thing, but nobody deliberately will do that I want to suffer. Iti nyayena virudhyate. Kaha virudhyate? Samanvaya virudhyate. Saha comes all the way first, So that saha is, so saha virudhyate. Samanvaya, that's samanvaya. That Brahman is Jagat Karanam and Brahman is the self of Jiva. That is what was said in the first chapter. This creation, the way it is, questions this conclusion on your part or questions your view. So, virudhyate nava. Sandeha can be there, doubt can be there when then two equal possibilities, opposite possibilities are there. So, looking at it one way looks like this is not possible, or that what you conclude in the first chapter is contradictory to this, or maybe or not. Is it or is it not? Does this identity cause a contradiction with reference to Jagat that is created? Can you properly explain the heaven and hell and all the pleasure and pain that are created in the Jagat? Can you properly explain these things? Show that there is no contradiction. Then it is fine. But to us, it looks like there is contradiction. Therefore, there is sandeha. Iti sandehe purvokta jiva ananyatvam upajivya. Purvokta jiva ananyatvam upajivya. Purvoktam tad ananyatvam. In that sutra, that Jiva is non-separate from Brahman, That becomes the basis of the question here. Upajivya. Jiva doshaha brahmani prasajyaranyati. If Brahman and Jiva are one, then all the miserableness of the Jiva comes in Brahman. Jiva doshaha, all the limitations of the Jiva will become limitations of Brahman, and all the greatness of Brahman will become the greatness of Jiva if they are both one. So point is, at what level this oneness is. Vedantin will say that the oneness is not at the level of upadhi. That Jiva with his limited upadhi or ahankara is not identical to Brahman. It is Jiva when he gives up the identification with the body, mind, sense complex and recognizes himself as consciousness. Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham, that I am Chidananda Rupaha, I am Shiva. This is how when Jiva sees himself, meaning that when the perception of Jiva completely changes, perception about himself completely changes, then he is one with Brahman. Not as ahankara. Avyakta hi gatir dukkham bhedavadbhir avapyade dehavadbhir. As long as they are identical with deha, that is very difficult. So Vedantin says that at the level of Swarupa there is identity, not at the level of Upadhi. Whereas Purvapaksha says when you say that Jiva is Brahman, then Jiva is a limited being, Brahman is limitless, both are one. If both are one, then Brahman alone is Jiva. Then all the limitation of Jiva become the limitation of Brahman, and then Brahman is creator. So Brahman, subject to all the limitations of Jiva, is the creator. No, that cannot be. So Jiva dosha Brahmani prasajyeran, all the doshas or defects or limitations of Jiva will all land into Brahman. Iti Purvapaksha Sutram Gruhitva Vyachaste. This is the Purvapaksha Sutra. So Sutra 21 is Purvapaksha Sutra, by the way. Itara. Or if you look at Nyaya Nirnaya, Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnana Pratigna Siddhaye. Why would it say Ananyatvam? What are the reasons saying that Ananyatvam, that nothing is separate from Brahman, is Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnana Pratigna Siddhaye. That Brahman alone is, all that is Brahman, then alone by knowing Brahman you have known everything. Then on that pratigna proposition that everything is known by knowing one. Karyasya karanad ananyatvam vadata. Tad ananyatvam karya karanayoho ananyatvam karyasya karanad ananyatvam. That karya, the effect is not separate from material cause. Then only by knowing the material cause such as clay, all parts and everything made of clay is as well known. Tenaiva nyayana, by the very same rule. Jivasyapi tata ananyatvam uktam. Now that is the thing. Tat ananyatvam, what is the equation? Our equation is B is equal to A is not equal to B. That's very important equation. When an actor A is acting as beggar B, then the beggar is not separate from actor, but actor is independent of beggar. So ananyatvam, that beggar is not separate from the actor. But not that actor is identical to beggar. That doesn't work. But here you assume that this is identity is both ways. Therefore, Teneva Nyayena Karanad Karyasya Karanad Ananyatvam Vadata. By Vedantin, who says that Karya effect is not different from cause, material cause. Jivasyapi Tataha Ananyatvam Uktam. Then, if Jiva is not separate from Brahman, Brahman is not separate from Jiva. So, equation goes both ways, like in chemistry. So, this can be an understanding that one can derive. Tat Ananyatvam. One can derive this understanding, therefore the sutra is there. That A is equal to B and B is equal to A is not the right understanding. B is equal to A, but A is not equal to B. That's understanding. Tari jiva dharmaha hita akaranadeha brahmani prasajjeran. This poor jivatma, being limited in knowledge and not being independent, very often winds up doing things which are painful to his own self, He winds up doing, Swamiji, I walked and so long and now my knees are not working. So Swamiji, I thought this thing was good and I kept on eating it and then now my stomach is like this. So this is how, not knowing what the long-term effects are, we do something which hurts our own self. So whatever we are right now is the result of what we have done anyway. That Jiva is seen to hurt himself or to create something that is painful for his own self. But if Brahman is one with Jiva, that means Brahman is doing something. And what is Brahman? Jagat Karanam. So how can Brahman do that? Brahman is not Jagat Karanam, that's the point. Brahman such as that, Brahman that is possessed of all these defects or limitations, cannot be Jagat Karanam, made some Pradhanam, something else is Jagat Karanam iti. Shankate itara vyapadeshadati. So Sutra 21 says, itara vyapadeshat hita akaranade dosha prasakti itara vyapadeshat itarasya vyapadeshat itarasya jivasya vyapadeshat. Itarasya means of the other. Other can be both. One interpretation is itaram is jiva. Vyapadeshat tattvamasi ityadina brahmatva vyapadeshat. When the Upanishad says tattvamasi, that thou art, then what it means? It means that jiva is Brahma. The other one, that is jiva, is declared to be identical to Brahma. Or the other way around. Athava brahmana anena jivena atmana anupravishya namrupe vyakarvani ityadina. Or Brahman says, I will enter as the jivatma. I will enter the three elements as the jivatma and then bring to manifestation names and forms, that Brahman becomes jiva. So Tattvamasi says jiva is Brahman. Anena jivena says, or tasruštva tadevanu pravishata, he created this body-mind complex and entered, that says jiva is, Brahman is jiva. So there are statements which say that jiva is Brahman, then jiva is itara. Other statements say Brahman is jiva, then Brahman is itara. Itara vyapadeshat. So identity with the other one is taught. So what happens? Brahmana srashtrutve jivasyeva srashtutvat. If jiva and Brahma both are one, then when the Upanishad says Brahma is the creator, it means jiva is the creator also, because jiva and Brahma are one. So this is a very common question. Swami, you are saying that I am Brahman. So when I gain the knowledge, then would I become all knowing? Would I know what is going on in the minds of other people? Would I know what will happen in the future? Can I do what I like to do? So people think that these changes will happen at the level of upadhi. That is the common understanding, that I am Brahman. Oh, you are being brainwashed that you are Brahman. That is a great arrogance. You are Brahman. What are you talking? Can you create this? Can you do this? So with Brahman or God, we associate the ideas of all knowledge, all power, all glories. And so we think that by this knowledge, Jiva also will get all knowledge, all power, all glories. And so Jiva will create the world, is the creator of the world because he is Brahman. Hita akaranadi dosha prasakti. Then prasakti, the occasion of dosha, faults like Hita akarana. Hita means what? What is beneficial. Akarana means not doing. Not doing what is beneficial. Or doing something that is not beneficial, both ways. Not doing what is beneficial or doing what is not beneficial, these are found to be the problems with Jiva. That sometimes we fail to do what is good for us. And very often we do something that is bad for us. You can see people smoking, drinking, all kinds of things they do. They all chew this masala, etc. Knowingly, it says, that chewing pan masala, is injurious to health and this is injurious to health. See that, they see it. But they continue to do it anyway, and so we see how Jivatma creates lot of pain for itself. Or knows that eating good food, right food is the right thing to do, but he keeps on doing, he doesn't do that. He wants masala, he wants bhajia, and he wants all kinds of stuff. And good healthy food he does not eat. He doesn't do what is good for him. He does what is not good for him. This is dosha in Jiva. And if Brahman is identical to Jiva, then all these doshas or defects will wind up in Brahman also. Then Brahman such as that can't be Jagat Karanam. So Brahman doesn't know what is good for it then. If Brahman also can do something which is bad for it, that doesn't deserve to be the Jagat Karanam or cause of creation. So, what is evil that is created by Brahman? Ahita, Jara, Maranadi, Bahuvida, Anartha Karanadosha, Prasakti. Brahman is in this Jagat, there is birth and death and old age and disease. Who will create this for oneself? Brahmityataha Chetanam Brahma Jagat Karanam Na Bhavitam Arhati. So this is Purva Paksha Sutra, where Purva Paksha wants to establish that Chetanam Brahma, Brahman which is Chetanam or consciousness, that cannot be Jagat Karanam. Consciously you can never do this, of creating pain for yourself and not creating pleasure for yourself. No intelligent being will do, and that is what is done in this Jagat. So Brahman, that is intelligent being, cannot be the cause of creation. This is the Purva Paksha. Before we proceed, that is the Vaiyasika Nyayamala. See, those verses are there. Hita kriya adisayanno va jiva bhedam prapashyatah jiva hita kriya swartha syadesha nahi yujyate. First Vishaya, then Samshaya, then Purvapaksha, then Uttarapaksha, and then Siddhanta. These 5 elements are involved in every topic. Therefore, before any new topic is started, so a new topic is started here. It is called whatever that topic is called. So, hita hita bhagitva abhava adhikarana hita hita bhagitva abhava adhikaranam. The hita hita bhagitva is not there. That's it. So, a new topic. So, hita hita akriyadisyat nova. Hita kriya means hita karanam. When Brahman creates the Jagat of the universe, can we accuse Brahman of hita kriya, of doing something that is not beneficial, or not doing something that is beneficial? Hita kriyadi, the adi. Hita kriya means what? Not doing what is beneficial. And ahita kriya means what? Doing something that is not beneficial. Syan nova. Do this will happen in Brahma or not? So samanvaya is the vishaya, subject matter. Samshaya. Whether if samanvaya is the topic, then will these doshas be there in Brahman or not? Jiva abhedam prapashyatah. For the Vedanta Siddhanta, which says that Jiva is one with Brahman, in that position, in that view, will Brahman wind up with having these doshas or defects of doing something not beneficial or not doing something that is beneficial? Will this happen or not? Is the samshaya. So says Tika here, Parameshwaro hi keshanchit jivanam samsara saktanam vairagyadikam hitam na nirmimite ahitam cha narakahetum adharmam nirmimite. See, Bhagavan has created this universe and created dharma and adharma. After all, there is adharma or evil in this universe that also is part of creation. So whoever has created the universe also has created adharma and dharma both. It is well known that if we follow dharma or righteousness, then we bring about well-being of ourselves. On the other hand, if we deliberately follow dharma, if we deliberately violate the law, then we bring about, we damage ourselves, we hurt ourselves. So human being has a free will. And if the free will is properly utilized, then we will help ourselves and not hurt ourselves. If the free will is not properly utilized or abused, then we will wind up abusing the free will, and we will not help ourselves and hurt ourselves. So samsara saktanam, for these jivas who are steeped into samsara, vairagyadikam hitam na nirmimite. You can see that these people are so much steeped in, so attached to things, so much steeped in samsara, they are so much overcome by ragadveshas. Why don't you help them by giving them the right perception that do dharma, avoid adharma? So we see many people violating dharma or righteousness and creating so much pain for themselves. Why doesn't Ishvara help them? Doesn't do that. Why doesn't he create vairagya in them? Anasakti. Because of asakti or attachment or ragadveshas, they are doing things that are hurtful to their own self. So why doesn't Ishvara give them vairagya? Doesn't give them. So what is beneficial it does not do. Na nirmimite. Ahitam cha narakahetum adharmam nirmimite. Ishvara has created adharma. And these fellows are following adharma and creating the hell for themselves. So, he has created what is not beneficial and not created what is beneficial. For some people in the world, dharma, adharma create, but then some people, unfortunate people are there who do not have the benefit of dharma and who are violating by following adharma and creating a lot of hurt or pain for themselves. And if Brahman did not know what it was doing, then it's all right. But Brahman knows what it is doing. Nirmimanascha swasya jivaihi abhedam sarvajnataya pashyati. The people who are following dharma, dharma is himself. Nirmimanascha. When Brahman is creating, Brahman knows everything. Knows that I am jiva. And I am creating hell for myself. That's the jiva. Brahman is jiva only. So when Brahman creates hell for jiva, it is creating hell for its own self. Or Brahman does not get vairagya, it is not creating beneficial thing for its own. So he knows. So knowingly, how can it do that? Unknowingly, it is possible that you may hurt yourself and not help yourself. But Brahman is omniscient, knows everything. How can it knowingly do something that is hurtful and do something that is not helpful? Tasmat swasyeva hita akaranam ahita karanam cha prasajjayatam. Meaning that as creator, when Brahman creates hell for jiva, it is creating hell for its own self because jiva and Brahma are one, and therefore it is ahita karanam, creating what is not beneficial for one's own self. And when Brahman does not give viveka vairagya to these people, that means it is not doing what is beneficial for its own self. This will be the prasanga. This is what the consequence will be if you insist upon identity of Brahma, Jiva with Brahman, that is Jagat Karanam. Etachana yuktam, and that's not proper. That Brahman being omniscient does this unintelligent thing is not possible. Brahman is all-knowing, intelligent being, and creating suffering for oneself or not creating beneficial for oneself is unintelligent. Brahman, which is all-knowing, conscious entity, cannot be expected to be unintelligent. Nahi prekshavan kaschita swasya hitam karoti. Ahitam va karoti. Prekshavan kaschita, an intelligent person swasya hitam na karoti, that should be nakara there. Nahi prekshavan kaschita, yeah, swasya hitam na karoti. There cannot be an intelligent person who does not do beneficial thing for himself, ahitam va karoti, or does what is not beneficial itself. No intelligent being will do that. Tasmat hita akaranadi dosha. Therefore, Brahman is, there is dosha of hita akaranam, ahita karanam will land in Brahman. That is a Purupaksha. So, second line was Purupaksha. Jiva hita kriya swartha syadesha nahi yujyate. Jiva ahita kriya swartha syad esha nahi yujyate. Because Brahman is identical to Jiva, therefore, when ahita or undesirable thing happens to Jiva, it is undesirable to Brahman also. If Brahman is separate from Jiva, then there is no problem. That what is not beneficial for Jiva is not beneficial for Brahman because Brahman is separate. So when a judge passes on the punishment to the prisoner, to the accused, the judge has nothing to worry about, he doesn't have to go to prison. But is it possible that judge will pronounce punishment for his own self? But if the one for whom punishment is pronounced is his own self, because it's not different. Brahman and Jiva are not different. So when Brahman pronounces punishment, it's punishment for its own self. How can anybody do that? That means Brahman and Jiva are not identical. Or if they are identical, then Brahman cannot be the creator. Esha nahi yujyate. Therefore, it is not right to say that Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Iti prapte brumaha. When this Purva Paksha arises, then this is what we have to, this is how we resolve this situation. सर्वज्ञत्वाद ईश्वरः जीव संसारस्य मिथ्यात्वं स्वस्य निर्लेपत्वं च पश्यति. He understands that heaven and hell are not real. The suffering of jiva is not real, is mithya. It is like this, that an actor deliberately becomes a beggar and suffers from insult, because the beggar is subject to many insults and many hardships, isn't it so? So how can an actor who is a wealthy person living in great luxury, how can he deliberately become a beggar who has to suffer? How can he do that? So this is like doing something that is not beneficial and not doing something that is beneficial. How can an actor do that? Answer is that beggar and his sufferings are mithya. Therefore, the actor knows that the insults that the beggar gets are not real. Therefore, he does not mind them. Otherwise, he won't do that. An actor will not become a real beggar. He will only become he acts as a beggar. Where beggar is mithya, actor is satyam. Similarly, Brahman knows all this pleasure and pain in samsara is mithya. Therefore, sarvajñatvat, Brahman or Ishvara is sarvajña. Ishvara jiva samsarasya mithyatvam pashyati. Brahman sees that all samsara characterized by birth and death and old age and heaven and hell, all of this is mithya, not real. अतः न हिताहित भाक्त्व दोषः एकस्तथा सर्वभूतांतरात्मा न लिप्यते लोक दुखेन बाह्यः सूर्यो यथा सर्वलोकस्य चक्षुः न लिप्यते चाक्षुषैर बाह्य दोषैः. Kathopanishad says that the sun is residing in the eyes of all living beings, and he sees with those eyes things that should not be seen. Chakshushahi bahya doshaihi. Normally, if you see something that is not proper to see, then you incur sin. You should see certain things, you should not see other things. That is why Parshuram's wife, Renuka, Jamadagni's wife, Parshuram's mother, Renuka, when she saw the Krida of this Gandharva, etc., and then she stayed there even for a short while, it was wrong. That is why she was struck with the dosha of seeing something should not have been seen. Says Tulsidas, he was going through forest, And so Rama, Sita doing Krida, he immediately closed his eyes. He said, please give way to this blind, he declared. Should not see what is not proper to see, otherwise you incur a dosha. But the sun, being the eyes of all the living beings, sees all kinds of things which should not be seen. But he does not incur dosha because he is not identified. न लिप्यते चाक्षुषैर बाह्य दोषैः एकस्तथा सर्वभूतांतरात्मा Simi Brahmanidhi Bhuta Ek is one, is the self of all the beings. Na lipyate loka dukkhena, then it will be miserable for Brahman to be the self of all because all beings are suffering. Then Brahman's suffering will be what? Infinite times. Brahman will be Mahasamsari. But no, na lipyate loka dukkhena bhahya. Brahman is not in any way tainted or affected by any pleasure and pain going on here because Bhahya is not identified. Like the rope never gets affected by the snake of the poison because rope transcends the snake. Similarly, all this being mithya, even though Brahman is the self of Jiva, is not in any way affected because the samsara of pleasure and pain, manapamanayo stulya, tulyo mitrari pakshayo, etc. Because mana, apmana, friend and foe, all of these are relative, they are not absolute. So, jiva samsarasya mithyatvam swasya nirlepatvam ja pashyati. And Brahman knows that I am untainted, unaffected. Because Bhakya, Brahman transcends all of this. Like the rope transcends the snake. Ataha na hitahita bhaktva dosha. One standard answer. Brahma satyam jagan mithya. That's all. Samsara is mithya. So when samsara, when vyavahara is taken with satya, then all kinds of problems arise. When people ask questions, they mix up the realities. When we talk of the Vyavahara, then they talk of Paramahansa. When we talk of Paramahansa, then bring the Vyavaharik Prashna. They always confuse this. So that confusion is reflected in this Purva Paksha here. Ataha na hitayed bhaktva dosha. Therefore, this dosha of hita abhaktva or ahita bhaktva, hita abhaktva or ahita, so that is not there. Being stuck with hurting oneself or not helping oneself, these doshas are not there in Brahman. Therefore, Brahman can very well be Jagat Karanam, the cause of the creation. That Samanvaya is established here. What is it? Huh? Avastu jiva samsarah Tena nasti mama kshatihi. Brahman says, na mama kshatihi. I know, this defect does not apply to me. Avastu jiva samsara, because this jiva samsara is avastu, is mithya. Idi pashyata ishasya. Ishvara sees this fact, therefore, nahita hita bhagita. Therefore, is not affected by this dosha of hita karanam. Ahita karanam iti. Now we come back to our page 393. Says Nyaya Nirnay, Sakim Yadi Tadruk Brahma Jagat Janayet Tarhi, we already saw this. Swa anishtam na janayati nyayana viruddhyate navayati tad anabhasatva abhasatvaabhyam sandehe. So Brahman seems to be doing something which is hurtful to it, or not doing something that is helpful. Is it abhasa or anabhasa? Is it real or unreal? That is where so the doubt is raised based on taking it to be real. The answer is in terms of declaring it to be mithya. That's the basic, basis of this sutra. So this is a Purva Paksha Sutra Tatparyamaha Anyatha iti Bhashyakara says. Anyatha punaha Chetana Karanavada Akshipyate. Anyatha, in another way, Purva Pakshi, in every topic, the Purva Pakshi comes up with a different issue. He raises variety of issues. So this is Mananam. Various doubts are raised and resolved with proper reasoning, which is in keeping with Shruti. And so Yukti is applied here in keeping with Shruti. Anyatha punha, once again, Chetana Karanavada Akshipyate. Chetana Karanavada, this view that Chetanam, that is Brahman, which is consciousness, is Jagat Karanam, is cause of creation, this conclusion is questioned in another way. Do you read this? Okay. Further. It says Samanvayasya Nyaya Virodha Samadhanat Pada etc. Okay, alright. Then Akshepam Vivrunvan Pratignya Bhagam Vibhajate. So Pratignya, what is it? Hita Akarana Akaranadi Dosha Prasakti. That is the occasion of doing something which is damaging to one's own self. This is the pratignya. And what's the hetu? Itara vyapadesha, that's the hetu. So, pratignya bhagam vibhajate. Bhashyakara first explains the pratignya. Bhashyakara says, Chetanadhe jagat prakriyayam ashriyamānayam hita akaranadeyo doshaha prasajyante. This is a pratignya of Purva Paksha, proposition of the Purva Paksha. Chetanadi jagat prakriyayam. If you accept that this jagat is created by Brahman, that is conscious entity or consciousness, conscious entity here. Ashriyamanayam, if you resort to this prakriya, this view that Brahman, that is consciousness, is Jagat Karanam, is the cause of creation, then Hita Akaranadayo Dosha Prasajyante. Hita Akaranade, not doing something that is beneficial, these defects will arise. Says Nyaya Nirnaya, Yasya Brahmana Srashtutvam na tasya hitadi sambandha. Yasya jivasya hitadi sambandha na tasya srashtutvam. We say, wait a minute, how come this question arises? Yasya Brahmana Srashtutvam. We are saying that Brahman, that is creator, doesn't have these defects. It is not connected to Hita Karanam or Ahita Karanam. And Jiva who is stuck with Hita Karanam, Ahita Karanam, it is not creator. So creator remains free from the defects, and the Jiva who is subject to defects is not the creator. So that distinction is very clearly there. What is the question? Where is the doubt? As though we don't understand his question, As though we do not know, we do not understand where he is coming from. He has something in mind. when he says that hita karanadi doshaha, not doing what is beneficial, these doshas will come. How can they come? Because Brahman that creates is unconnected to this hita ahita, beneficial, non-beneficial. And jiva that is subject to beneficial, etc., is not created. So nobody has created ahita for itself, nobody has created undesirable for itself, etc. So that defect doesn't arise. So says kutaha. So in kutaha this is all involved. How can you say that? Jiva is jiva and Brahman is Brahman. Brahman is creator, jiva is sufferer, they are different. So where is the question? Sutra avayavena pariharati. So now the hetu part of the sutra is being explained. Itara vyapadeshat. Because vyapadesha means mention. Because of mention of the other one. Itara means the other one. Vyapadesha means mention. Itara vyapadeshat, because of the mention of the other one. What does it mean? Itara shabda jiva vishaya vyakhya paramatma vishaya, both ways. So both ways Bhashyakara explains. Bhashyakara says itarasya sharirasya brahmatmatvam vyapadishati shrutihi sa atma tattvamasi shvetaketo iti pratibodhanat. Itara vyapadeshat means what? Itarasya brahmatmatvam shruti vyapadishyati. Itarasya jivasya sharirasya. Sharira means what? The embodied being. Sharire bhavaha shariraha. So one who obtains the body called embodied being, meaning one identified with the body, means the jiva. So the Shruti very clearly says that this jiva, who is the embodied being, is one with Brahman. Where? Sa atma. Tat sa means what? That's sat or jagat karanam. You know? So aitad atma vidam sarvam sa atma sa tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi. That sat itself is satyam, itself is real. And that's the atma, and that's what you are. So saha stands for Brahman here. So he Shvetaketu, you are Brahman tattvamasi. Very clearly, without any doubt, that says that jiva is Brahman. So jiva is being, so pratibodhanar, the jiva is being told that atma you are, that Brahman you are. Then itara shabda paramatma vishaya, or itara means other, can also mean paramatma. So Bhashyakara says yadva iti. Yadva itarasya cha brahmanah shariratmatvam vyapadishati tat srishtva tadeva anupravishata iti srashtuhu eva avikrutasya brahmanah karyanupraveshena shariratmatva pradarsanat. Itarasya brahmana, and Brahman is also declared as jiva. Shariratmatvam darshayati vyapadishati. Other Shruti statement says that jiva, Brahman alone is jiva. How? Tat srishtva tadevanu pravishata, having created the names and forms, having created his upadhi, having just as having created a home, Devadatta enters the home, or having created a nest, the bird enters the nest. Similarly, having created this body-mind complex, Brahman entered. Tat srishtva tadeva, what was created, that itself Brahman entered. Meaning that the jiva, Brahman is jiva. So tattvam says jiva is Brahman. And this one says Brahman is jiva. So both ways equations are there. then just Parinami Brahman Anupravesha. We say that Brahman underwent a change when it entered. So Brahman became Jiva and then entered, then that. So Brahman in his original state is not Jiva. Brahman has changed, Brahman is Jiva. He says, no, avikrutasya. Srashtu hueva avikrutasya Brahmana. Not Brahman that is anybody else. Srashtuhu, Brahman that is creator. Avikrutasya, and that which did not undergo any change, did not get transformed. Same intact Brahman. So Brahman that is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, that created this universe without undergoing any change, as Brahman it entered the universe, and that's how it now obtains as Jiva. So Brahman alone became Jiva. Or not became, Brahman alone is Jiva. Iti Brahmana Karya Anupraveshena Shariratmatva Pradarsanat. So Brahmana Karya Anupraveshena. This says Brahman entered the Karya, meaning what is created, meaning the body-mind complex. Brahman entered that. Anupraveshena. Anupraveshena means what? Conforming to the body-mind complex. By entering, it doesn't change. Everything remains the same. Some people, they enter and they change everything. They enter the room all right and change the whole thing. If you go there after 6 months, you can't recognize that place. Brahman did not do that. He didn't change. The body-mind complex was intact. And that's how, without itself changing, he entered whatever this home was created. Shariratmatva Pradarsanat. And that's how Brahman is Atma of the embodied being. So Brahman is Jiva and Jiva is Brahman. Itara Vyapadesha is interpreted both ways. Brahma Kartruka Vyapadesha Itara Vyapadesha iti Vyakhyanantaram aha. Or Brahma Kartruka Vyapadesha, that Brahman itself says this. Brahman itself says that I am now going to be Jiva. Iti Vyakhyanantaram. That's another way of explaining this. Itara Vyapadeshat. Itara Kruta Vyapadeshat. Itara means Brahma Kruta Vyapadeshat. So Bhashyakara says, अनेन जीवेन आत्मना अनुप्रविश्य नाम रूपे व्याकरवाणी इति च परादेवता जीवम् आत्मशब्देन व्यपदिशन्ति न ब्रह्मणः भिन्नः शारीरः iti darshayate. See, they are all Chhandogya Vakyas. So when we come to this Vakya, the explanation already given here. Sometimes Bhashyakara gives the explanation in the Upanishad Bhashya, sometimes does not. So study of this Brahma Sutra is study of Chhandogya, understand that. That's the reason why we are studying this. So Chhandogya Vakyas only are studied. Arambana Shabdadibhya Vacharambhanam Vikaranavadhayam Mritika iti. That Vakya was formed the basis of the whole sutra. Here also these Vakyas, Tattvamasi, Anena Jivena Atmana, they form the basis of this Adhikaranam. So, Itara Vyapadeshat, Brahman declares this. What does it declare? Anena Jivena Atmana Anupravishya. Jivena Atma, as Jivatma. Anena Jivena Atma, as Jivatma, I will enter these three elements, Nam Rupe Vyakarvani, and then I will manifest the names and forms. Iti cha Paradevata Jivam Jivatma, Jivena Atmana is Samadhikaranyam. As Jivatma, as Jiva. So it is a Paradevata, Jivam Atma Shabdena Vyapadishanti. That Paradevata, that is Sat Devata, Param Brahma, mentions Jiva as its own self. Atma Shabdena Vyapadishanti. Itara Vyapadeshat is this interpretation. Itara means Paramatma or Brahma. So Brahma Kruta Vyapadeshat. That Brahma actually declares that I am in the form of Jiva. Paradevata Jivam Atma Shabdena Vyapadishanti. Devata is a striling word, Vyapadishanti. Na Brahmana Bhinna Shariraha iti darshayati. Very clearly says that the Shariraha, the embodied one, is not Brahmana Bhinna, is not separate from Brahman. So Brahman alone is this embodied being or the Jiva. So that's very clear. Jiva Brahmanoho Abhede Shruti Siddhe Phalidam Aha. Shruti Siddhe. So by the statement of Shruti itself, it is very clear that Jiva and Brahma are one. What is Jiva is Brahma. What is Brahma is Jiva. Tattvamani says what is Jiva is Brahma. Thus Sruštva says what is Brahma is Jiva. So Jiva Brahmano Abhede. Therefore, the non-divided or identity between Jiva and Brahma, Shruti Siddhe, is established by the statements of Shruti which leave no doubt. Sometimes Shruti statements also are questioned. But these are Spashtalinga. These statements do not in any way leave any doubt. These are very clear statements. Phalitamaha. Therefore, so what does it amount to? Tasmad, the Bhashyakara says, Tasmad Brahmanaha Srashtritvam Tata Sharirasya eva iti. Tasmat yad Brahmana Srashtritvam. When the Upanishad says that Yato va imani bhutani jayante, Brahma is a creator. Tasmad va etasmad atmana akasha sambhutah. That Brahma is the creator, Srashtritvam, the creatorship. Tat Sharirasya iti. Because Brahma alone is the embodied soul, self, and therefore the creatorship also belongs to this Jivatma. So Jiva, because Brahma and Jiva are one, therefore, even though Upanishad mentions the creatorship of Brahman, by this statement Jiva and Brahma are one. Therefore, when A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A is equal to C. So Jiva is equal to Brahman and Brahman is equal to creator. So Jiva is equal to creator. Therefore, Tasmat yad Brahmana Srashtritvam. So that creatorship that belongs to Brahma, that Sharirasya, that amounts to the creatorship of this Jiva only. This is the conclusion. Then the Purva Paksha is raised. We will continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. ઓમ શાંતિ શાંતિ શાંતિ. હરિ ઓમ. શ્રી ગુરુભ્યો નમઃ. હરિ ઓમ. હા, એક વાત કહેવાની હતી કે આ રવિવાર પછીના રવિ